Is my mic okay? There we are. I don't know what happened, but I guess OBS swapped the audio source. So okay, we got audio now. Um, Let me get chat open on my phone once I remember what my password is. Okay, so hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream. So today we're going to be working on Caleb, and yeah, it's going to be a relatively chill stream. I'm just trying to get as many of the, or we're going to try to get as far as we possibly can with Caleb this evening. And yeah, already yeah, we're going to see how far we can get, because the goal is to finish rendering him so that we can begin moving into sticker designs. And and I'm kind of running out of time for the market in May. So we are going to do our best to get as much done as possible when it comes to the lads boys. So I already did get started on some rendering off camera, and I also did complete Xavier off stream as well. Xavier at the moment is just missing his Xavier is just missing his background. Okay, I think I got the right shade of brown. My issue with browns is that I always have a hard time selecting the shading colors, because I sometimes I get a little too dark and it becomes a black instead of a dark brown. And I think like this is a little too saturated. Also, I'm sorry if I'm not at 100%. I've had this persistent headache for the past 2 weeks, and it's not making life any easier. So I'm just trying my best to make sure I get work done while dealing with these headaches, which I have decided to go to the doctor tomorrow and finally get it checked out. So hopefully it's nothing serious. And I feel like a little bit on the hyper side at the moment. Oh gosh. I struggle shading his hair. Yeah, I am on the line pen. So one of the things I need to learn how to do is set up a light source, because if it's coming from the front, we'll just do what feels right. I think, you know what? I'm going to redo the hair and I'm going to work more in sections because I think that's kind of where because when I draw out the head, I usually, yeah, let's section things out a little bit better. Okay. So hopefully this will kind of help with how the sectioning works. So I'm probably not going to keep those lines in the drawing itself, but just to kind of help section off his hair. So I know, so this is, in short, this is going to act as more of a guideline. So what I'm going to do is actually, let's do a multiply, and then we will pretty much work from here. You can really see how blue his lines are. Fly. You know, the worst thing about these headaches is that when the first day I got it, it was strong enough that I budged and I asked my mom for an ibuprofen. But it didn't I didn't really feel it helped anything. Because the issue with me, and my mom has pointed, like, the last time I had to go to the doctor, um one of the things my mom said, that one of the problems with you is that you have a high pain, like, I one of my problems is I have a high pain tolerance. So the thing is, it's like, if it's still quote unquote manageable in my book, then I'm not going to think much of it. I'll just wait for it to like, I'll wait for the discomfort to pass. But on the negative side, like, I'll feel pain, like, even if it's just a shot of staying on, and I feel like I can still do stuff, I will. And I end up neglecting, like, I end up neglecting myself in that way, because it's like, oh, I can still handle the pain, it's fine. So I have a tendency of neglecting myself to that respect, because for me, if I can still work in pain, I'm fine. Like, that's one of my biggest problems when it comes to my health. And I know Liza would scream at me for it. It's like, the pain is still bearable, it's manageable, I'm fine. And it kind of just makes me think about, like, it reminds me of when I injured my knee when I was a child. Like, it did, like, that's the thing that the doctors always found strange about my knee injury, was that, like, I didn't feel pain. And that's the thing, is that the only times I've ever felt pain in regards to, like, my knee injury was, like, okay, so when I first got on my foot, because they were trying to help me out because I was ready to go back into the game, like, if anything, I started crying because I started panicking, because if you've ever had a knee injury and all of a sudden your knee just literally collapses from beneath you, it's scary because you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's going on. Like, I didn't feel pain, but I knew something was wrong. And that's the thing, when my parents brought me to the ER, if it weren't for the x-rays, or like the x-rays literally showing it's like, no, you tore a ligament, I probably would have tried to brush it off and said I was fine because I didn't feel pain. But there was most definitely something very much wrong. I feel like I need to go darker with that brown. And I think that's the problem with browns, is that like one little nudge in the wrong direction, it's like too much. Okay, that's perfect. But yeah, it's like that's one of my issues, is that if for me, if the pain is still bearable and manageable, I'll keep going. Even though I probably more than should stop. It's like for me, it's like, oh, we can muscle through the discomfort. We're fine. Everything's fine. Like, this isn't a big deal. I can do it. And it turns into an issue because then I end up with shit like this headache, and that one time I had to go to the hospital back in July, and then find out it's like, no, it's something actually very serious. You shouldn't have put it off. And then I had Liza screaming, "I told you so," which she did tell me so. Everyone, get yourself a friend like Liza who will scream at you to go to the doctor when you're like, I'm fine, I'm in pain, but I'm fine. But yeah, that's like one of my toxic traits. I'll be in pain and just say I'm fine. And it just reminds me of like this one fact about birds, is that a lot of birds will try and hide whenever they're injured, and they'll like, and that's the thing. It's like they'll try and operate as usual. At least I read that somewhere. I don't know how true it is though. So I need a fact check, but yeah, like it got me thinking about like that one time I read that little thing about birds, is that they'll pretend everything is fine when it's not. And then it's like, wow, way to get called out. And I guess there's a reason why birds are my favorite animal. Those guidelines are really helping a lot. But yeah, yeah, it's like on one hand, I'm thankful for my high pain tolerance, but at the same time, that high pain tolerance kind of comes back and bites me in the ass in very serious situations, because I'm just like, all I need to do is lie down and I'll rest it off. I also don't really go to the doctor all too regularly. I think I'm like, as I'm getting older, I'm beginning to realize like I should probably prioritize doing yearly checkups just to make sure everything's in order, because as I'm getting older, I'm realizing just how much my body is changing. And I don't like aging. I don't like how my body shifts with age. Like, to be completely honest though, I am getting closer to like my ideal body, and actually building strength to do the things that high school me could only ever dream of. Because fun fact, well, I played softball, I played basketball, and I had a relatively strong arm. I did not have any upper body strength. So like pull-ups, push-ups, have never been able to do those properly. Which, as an athlete, I feel like you should at least be able to do a push-up. But yeah, never, like I've never learned how to properly do a push-up. Which I'm working on it now. Right now I have the negative down, and we just need to work on the up portion. Also, one thing I'm learning is that, because one thing I do enjoy doing with my art is I like setting up a gradient, because whenever I do cell shading, if I don't have like that gradient underneath, it just feels wrong. So I'll do the gradient on one layer, And this is about the only time where I'll actually merge layers is when I'm working on the oh gosh, I can't. Okay, wait, hold on. That's not what I meant. I don't really like that. The only time, let me just redo this entire area. So I'll put the gradient on one layer because for me, whenever I do cell shading, it does not feel right to just put in flat colors. Like I need some sort of blending in the background. So I'll do a layer where I'll blend out the colors, and then I'll have one layer where I put in all the solid colors. So once I get the shapes in, I'll blur the edges just to soften them up a little bit, but I'll also go in and blur the edges and merge the layers together. Because this is like maybe the one time I will like merge layers. And also a friendly reminder that things will work out the way that you intend them to when you slow down and actually take your time instead of rushing them because you feel like you're on a self-imposed time crunch. Just a fun little fact. Because these guidelines really are helping a whole lot. That should mix up very far. Also, oh no, I have been talking about the books I've been reading on the vlogs, not so much on stream. I did. I also want to do like in combination with like anime stickers. I also want to do bookish stickers as well. So I'm thinking. So the first one for sure is going to be for Fourth Wing, and those are actually the sticker designs that we're going to work on next once we're done with all the lads projects. Because I have like 3 Andarna stickers already planned out, although I'm kind of debating on the I Breathe Fire sticker. I'm kind of just like questioning, okay, is this really an interesting design, or is this just, did I just like that line in the book a little too much? But yeah, right now I do have like 3 Andarna stickers fully sketched out that they're just ready to get um, traced digitally. So I do have those already in the whip bin, and I'm hoping with the pencil sketches already in place, like it reduces the time I need, because if anything, I'll do 1 sketch max and then hop over into lining, and then we could get to coloring, kind of similarly to how I approach um the cake is a lie the cake is a lie design for Garrick. So yeah, that one was pretty quick to get done, thankfully, with the sketch already in place. And I want to, like, I love the masked men chasing you through the woods trope, so I do like my fair share of masked men. So I'm gonna do. Eventually, I do want to do a I love masked men stickers. And of course, the obligatory Malachi Vise set of stickers, because I love Malachi so much. Little Strangers as a book, I think if you go in with high expectations for the writing, you're going to be disappointed for the book. I would say it's definitely one of those stories that the writing and the plot isn't necessarily the best. There's like a lot of things that if you try to apply reasonable logic to, it's just like, why would you do X, Y, and Z, knowing full well that Malachi is who he is? Um, but Malachi brings the right energy to the table for me, and I will say Olivia is not my favorite type of FMC. but Malachi more than makes up for it. I love Malachi too. I love Malachi too much that I'm willing to overlook some of the um I don't want to say well, I'm willing to overlook some of the things about the book that would normally make me pass up a novel like that, because in my opinion the writing isn't necessarily the best, but Malachi brings in the right kind of energy. Because for me it's like for me the plot, I'm willing to overlook certain elements in a book if I build an attachment to the characters. If I'm able to build an attachment to a character, then I'm more than willing to stick around for the rest of it, even if sometimes the plot doesn't really follow through all too well. And for me, it's like very similar. So I just finished reading God of Malice, or well, listening to God of Malice. I don't know if it's one of those things that if the audiobook didn't rub me the right way, but I will say, it's a very similar opinion from between God of Malice and Little Stranger, where I'm not a huge fan of the female lead, but the male lead brings in the kind of energy that I love. So it's like, again, I'm willing to overlook some of the things that I kind of find annoying and I kind of dislike in favor because I do like one of the characters. And for me, both Killian and Malachi scratch a certain itch for me. I just don't necessarily like how the female leads are portrayed. Like, I'm not a huge fan of those portrayals. Um, for me, it's just like if the FMC is too wishy-washy, I'm not a very big fan of that. Like it's one of those, you can very much tell what you're feeling and what's going on and the kind of person you're interacting with. Like you can blatantly. It's one thing if they're playing or I don't want to say playing ignorant, but it's one thing if they're oblivious to certain facts of the character. That for me it's like, okay, yeah, if they're like if they're fully unaware that this character is a psychopath, then that makes sense to me. Like I'm willing to forgive any like actions that stem from a place of I trust you and I'm not aware that you're this kind of person, and I'm willing to like give you the benefit of the doubt that you're not what everybody says you are. But that's not the case for Olivia or Gwen or Glyndon, in my opinion. It's like they're very much aware that they're dealing with people that are a little bit off. And like even Glyndon has siblings who are very similar to Killian in that they exhibit traits of psychopathy. So it's like you are aware this is like I don't know. It's like you're aware that this is the kind of person Killian is, and you're still like trying to deny certain things about how you feel towards him. Especially with how the book opened, it's just like, sweetheart, you were sold that night on the cliff. Like just accept it already. Yeah, but I guess personally it's like I'm not a huge fan of how wishy-washy or like how like I don't know. It's a wishy-washy nature that kind of like rubs me the wrong way in both Glyndon and Olivia. So I realize like, okay, yeah, it's because they're trying to I guess I don't want to say look at things from a very innocent lens, but they're trying it's hard to say innocent when it's like they're aware. It's not like you're acting out of a place of naivety or like naivete, or like you're aware. You're aware there's something wrong, a little off, but you want to pretend it's not there, but you are perfectly aware that it's there. And for me, it's just like, no, get back here. Just I don't know. For me, it's just it doesn't rub the right way. It just doesn't rub the right way. There's like a certain level of ignorance, but it's like you're 100. You're aware. You are 100% aware of who these men are. Just accept them as they are. You caught the eyes of a psychopath. Malachi deserved better. Killian got what he wanted, so, and not to mention Killian didn't really have to face anything himself for pursuing Glyndon. I want to keep calling her Gwendolyn. I don't know why, but yeah. For me personally, I guess God of Malice didn't really hit all too much, mainly because I wasn't a huge fan of the female main character, but Killian does bring a good energy, and I'm starting to get like little previews of God of Fury, and I'm hoping for a little bit more of Nikolai out of Nikolai based off of like what I'm hearing. And personally, I'm kind of excited for the Creighton and Annika story. I because while God of Malice isn't necessarily my favorite, I will say that Killian is enough, like, or rather, God of Malice portrayed enough of other characters that I'm willing to invest in another book and see. It's like, okay, maybe it's just this one book in the series, because not every book in a series is really going to appeal to you all the time. Like, for example, for me, Necessary Evils, like, I can say there is a hierarchy or ranking that I like the stories. For me personally, if I were to, like, it's been a year since, has it been a year? Yeah, I think it's been roughly around a year since I last read Necessary Evils, and I low-key kind of want to do a reread, and I need to plug in, like, I thought, no, you're not plugged in. I do want to do a reread of Necessary Evils because, again, I also have sticker designs I want to do for Necessary Evils. But for example, I love Necessary Evils as an entire series, and for me, the first book was strong enough on its own that it got me hooked on the series. Like, Noah and Adam from the get-go were just like, oh babies, I love you so much. And slowly, as you start going through the books, you start getting to see more of the other brothers. And for me, August, favorite Mulvaney, followed by Azza. And then I have to say, as I always thought Avi was going to be my favorite twin between the both of them, but I think Azza just stole the cake pretty much because he's the more sadistic brother. And I think I'm more in love with that sadism than I am with Avi's masochism. So yeah, for me, Azza ended up becoming the favorite twin. I was expecting it to be Avi. Um, I also liked the fact that they showed what the heck happened there. I also enjoyed the spicy that happened in Azza's books that like 100% just sold me on Zane and Azza. But yeah, if I were to rank them, August's book comes first. August books come first, followed by Azza's. Azza, Jazza. Potato. Anyway, it's gonna be August, Azza, then third place. I kind of almost want to say Archer. Either Archer or Adam. Because I also did like Aiden's story quite a bit. I know a lot of people didn't really like Aiden as much, but I think Aiden's book was like a nice little wrap up to that entire universe, because you really get to see more of why Thomas did what he did with the boys. So yeah, it's like I really love the premise, and to be completely honest, like did take a little bit of inspiration, and there is another set of OCs that are kind of low-key inspired by a combination of Batman vigilantes with Necessary Evils and thread in occult stuff into it. So there is another story idea in that as well that I do want to touch base, and I have like the seven main characters already planned out for that. And Micah isn't even the main character of that story, but a lot of the character developments revolve around him. And I need to fix that because Micah is not the main character, but I have a lot planned out for Micah. And he's not even the main character of that story. And I mentioned this on stream, but I did also wrap up Shield of Sparrows, and I was kind of disappointed it wasn't a Why Choose, because I was really hoping for a Xavier Ransom Odessa thing going, because I felt like they had a very promising dynamic if we just gave Xavier a little bit more of a spotlight. I feel like that would have been a very interesting dynamic to chase, but that didn't happen. So especially when you drop a little tidbit like Xavier likes to share, like you really got me on that one. You got me good on that one. I had hopes. But yeah, I mentioned in the vlog I'm currently editing, that I'm disappointed that I'm a little sad. I'm not disappointed. I'm sad that there wasn't a bit of a Why Choose element in in Shield of Sparrows. I really enjoyed Shield of Sparrows. I'm just a little sad that Xavier didn't really get to join in. And I do have I have like 2 sets of poly OCs. For one, Hellbound revolves around a poly relationship. Micah is in a poly relationship with Jax and Net. And I think I finally settled on a name for Net because Net 100% my obsession with Itakwa bled into him. So he's got a little bit of Itakwa from Identity 5 inspo going on. And the funny thing is, Jax is a recycled, because originally that concept was supposed to go into a completely different direction and had a female main character who would have been bi. But then that character kind of got recycled because I wanted to blend in like the 7 deadly sins into it. So it's 7 siblings, kind of very similar to how Necessary Evil has 7 siblings. But like, again, rolling in that occult aspect of it, like the brothers are all half, or right, rather, I don't want to call them half demons because they're not half demons. They're contracted demons, if that's going to make sense when I actually write out the story. But I do have the 7 brothers all planned out, and this time I'm actually going to have one person related to, kind of similar to Batman and Damian, but in this case it's going to be a nephew rather than a actual son. And so he's going to be like where it all started, because it's kind of like an atonement thing where their guardian is ashamed of his past. So in order to rectify it, he kind of just begins sheltering all these boys and training them so that they know how to use their abilities and they use it responsibly. And there is a certain factor of death, so they're like, all the boys have died at least once. And yeah, that is like one of the stories that I want to work on. And right now, Hellbound has taken a bit of a backseat. I really need to hop back on Hellbound. I think I'm going to set up 2 different sets of streams. A stream where I work primarily on Hellbound, but I still need to get the script for Hellbound done. And then, because I also have a Fourth Wing but make it gay idea. And it's going to be a bi for bi couple, so they're both male. Again, it's going to be BL. But the leads for that story, they're both bi. And right now, Liza is suffering through like my current brain rot of those 2, because they're not good people. They're both going to be toxic to some extent, and I'm so excited to see what people do with Elias. Because it's either you're gonna absolutely love Elias and sympathize with him, or you're gonna think he's a scum of the earth. That's kind of like where I want to take him. It's like you either love him or you hate him. That's kind of where I want to see. I want to see if Elias fulfills that for anyone, because Elias does shit. Like, yeah, he's a victim of his own tragedies, but he does shit, and he's not sorry. Okay, he does feel a little remorse, but at the same time, for him, it's I'm doing what I need to do to survive. Like everything I do is out of a need of survival. That's what's going to be Elias's main focus, is that everything he does throughout the story is like it's self-preservation, because he's lived in a kind of, or where was that thought going? Yeah, he kind of just lives in a I need to survive kind of lens. And I can, but yeah, Frasier, the only thing Frasier has going for him is that he's a bit of a fuckboy. That's about it. Frasier is just the token fuckboy with daddy issues. There we go. I think eventually I'm gonna set aside one stream specifically for working on fan art, and then one stream for working on the ideas, because I do need to set aside time so that those things are getting done, because eventually I do want to focus on my own stuff. At least Caleb is slowly coming together. I'm not going to be able to render his suit tonight because his hair is just taking longer than I expected, but I'm not surprised that it is taking longer than I expected. But it is coming out the way I need it to, so the little guides at the beginning help a shit ton. This is your friendly reminder to draw from your shoulder. Now my headache is like a light throbbing right now. Hope there's no one in chat that I'm missing. Yeah, it's still me. I forgot I was doing Necessary Evil rankings. But yeah, August as a I think Adam is gonna have to come next. Then Avi. No, I think I'm gonna move Archer up. Replace Adam with Archer. I'm sorry, Avi. Yeah, let's do. Yeah, it's August is I would argue Archer, Adam, Avi. Ooh, but I would like Aiden's to go up a little higher. And then I think for me personally, Atticus is just at the bottom. I'm sorry, Atticus. I love you. I love you, but bottom. I low-key kind of want an alternate universe where I forgot the main antagonist's name, but I kind of want an alternate universe where August and that other serial killer are both perfectly aware of each other, and it's just like now on top of the other guy, like trying to trying to off Lucas. He also now has August to worry about, so now it's just like a heart attack from August, a heart attack from that other guy. And I low key kind of just want an alternate universe where they're both very present. But yeah, like I just want to give Lucas all the heart attacks because I just think it'd be funny. I think it'd be funny if like he had like the looming threat of both of them like constantly. In other words, I want August to fuck with his husband a little bit more before they get married. Because apparently breaking into his home and asking him out to a date wasn't enough for me. I just really want Lucas to shit his pants. I'm terrible. I am horrible. Also, the funny thing is, so like I said, I do have like the 7 characters for that other like demon concept all thought out. And I thought it'd be funny if the oldest one, like the one who's supposed to be like more serious, more business, and like literally the brains and sense of reason for all the other 6, like more on the serious side, analytical, logical, and like definitely a little more uptight. And he's gonna be the oldest. And I was thinking of like, what if he's dating an exorcist? And then everybody just like loses their shit over the fact that he's dating an exorcist because out of everyone, like they would have expected it out of somebody like um I don't think I've settled on his name because at one point I was thinking Adrian, but I don't think Adrian is it. But um yeah, I was thinking it's like they expected out of a character like Micah or Adrian, Micah having his own like Micah is the one character that I would say like he has a bit like he mellows out from his teen years. Like Micah mellows out from his teen years, starts making wiser decisions at some point in his life that like everyone's thankful for. And I projected a lot onto Micah. Micah has a lot of projections and a lot of my worst case scenarios. Maybe not all of them, but he's got a few. Because Micah does have a history of SH in his story. Like that is a theme for him as well. And he does have characters like I think a bug just touched me. He has characters like Jax and Net that kind of like help keep him anchored. And I think that's part of the reason why they work as a polycule is that Net is very protective of Micah. Jax Jax is a softer like Jax is gonna be kind of like that goth emo presence, but not really in a way. Like he's definitely got a darker style going on for him, but he's definitely soft, empathetic. Doesn't really show too much emotion, but he definitely has a soft side for both Net and Micah. But Net is very protective of Micah. Very protective and possessive. Which is funny because when they're kids, you wouldn't have thought Net would have been like that for Micah. And it's kind of like one of those things that those 3 specifically, it's unhealthy attachment or what is there's a psychological term for it, but and it got me thinking about this one Matsuhana where they are like codependent, very like toxic codependency, or like high degrees of codependence. And that's for them, like people, like a lot of them understand why they're codependent because they pretty much came out of the same facility. In the story, they do come out of the same facility, so everybody's like, okay, yeah, the fact they're codependent shocks absolutely no one, and the fact that they're all now dating shocks absolutely no one. And the funny thing is, it's Micah's origin story. Like, he started out as very promiscuous. Not to say that he isn't still promiscuous, but like I was gonna have him a little bit more untethered, and his love interest was originally gonna be Adrian, but that changed because I wanted my polycule, and he would have broken Adrian's heart in that route. Like, he would have broken him. But now they're more like bros than anything. The one that like surprised me is that he actually did build a relationship with Cade, and like Cade, like out of all of them, I think he views Cade as like more of a brother than anything. Well, he kind of, I don't know how to explain his relationship with Cade, but definitely like he goes to Cade as a older, I don't want to say role model, but as an older person he can rely on. Because so far their ages go. How do I forget my own OC's name? Like I forget my own OC's names regularly. It's bad. It's bad. Catil. And the funny thing is, it's like when I was looking up the definitions for names, because I wanted something that kind of leaned into a little bit of cultish. Like, if I remember the translations correctly, Catil does translate into like sacrificial pot or something, because again, Catil is where things kind of like almost originate from, and part of the reason like his uncle decides to create a second chance for all these kids, pretty much giving them a second chance at life, a second chance at life that was robbed from them. You know, the other thing I started questioning just a few days ago was like, where are the tarot decks I ordered? But then I remembered, I think maybe one or two of them were scheduled to ship out late March. So yeah, I still don't have the tarot decks. I told myself I would get myself. I ordered like I ordered like more. I ordered a couple of more tarot decks, and I think one new Lenormand deck, because I really like the art style. There was one that was like a coffin shaped deck that I was debating, but then I started taking a closer look at the art style and it just didn't vibe with me anymore. And for me, to my tarot decks, I like more stylized art. I'm not as big a fan of, I cannot speak. Like, I enjoy more stylized art. I'm not the biggest fan of realistic or realism. So I tend to lean more towards like more stylized art. Jesus, I cannot speak. I think. The other thing I've also started doing was looking into more artist alleys, because I think if I really want my business to be a success, I need to start going to events or start going to more anime events. And there's actually going to be Niji Fest in May. And I'm debating on going, like, not as an artist, but as an attendant, just to kind of scope it out and get a feel for the vibes, because it is an LGBTQ um, out, anime convention. So I'm debating on going to that. And I'm also debating if I'm going to get a hotel room or if I'm going to do a like 1 day trip it, just to save like $159 on a hotel room, because on one side I could make it a day trip, on the other side, like, will I be able to survive that drive back home? And low key, I kind of want to go to the rave. But yeah, decisions. I'm still debating it. First, I want to like get past whatever. I think I just, well, the thing is, it's like it's gonna be in May anyway, so it's gonna be like literally, I think it's literally the week after the market. So it's just like I'm thinking about it now. It's like, okay, I can either get the hotel now. I have until like what, April something, to book a hotel, assuming that they will still have rooms by April. Um, and because on one hand, if I do the hotel, then it'll give me the opportunity to go check out the rave. If I don't book the hotel, I will have to cut it short and eventually go home, because it is going to be a bit of a drive back. And I'm just thinking of the time we went to Disneyland, and I knocked out during that drive home. Like, good thing I wasn't the one driving, but I don't know if I'd be able to survive. Always do the ill-advised thing and find a stranger. I don't know. Don't do as I say. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't listen to me. My headache is speaking. But yeah, it's either I rent a hotel room just to be on the safe side and I make the drive home safely the next day, or I just say fuck it, we ball, or or fuck it, we die, essentially, and then pray I get home in one piece. I also need, the other thing is too, I need to make a night doctor appointment. Da, da, da. Oh shit, what I do? What did I do? Jesus, did I accidentally clear a layer or something? Oh no. I would have hated myself so much. Oh god. Okay. Yeah. No. That. And this is the thing I hate about this headache is, like, I took an Advil before this stream. It's back and it's kind of pulsing a little bit right now. Okay. How long have I been streaming? We'll complete the hour. So it's like another 4 minutes, according to how long I've streamed so far. We'll do like a full hour. Because the goal is also to get Caleb hair, at the very least, done. Also, one other criticism for God of Malice. Everyone's a critic. But personally, like, I know Cherry had a role to play in deceiving everyone, but at the same time, it's just like introducing her as a love rival when Killian is already dead set on Glyndon. Like, for me, doesn't really, like, I don't know. I just didn't see the point of Cherry. I feel like they could have probably incorporated that a little bit better. Maybe played it from an angle from Glyndon's, like, have somebody try and get Glyndon on their side rather than trying to work Killian, because for me it just didn't make sense, because you're gonna try working the psychopath that can pretty easily read people, and the fact that he overlooked Cherry too on top of that. But I guess he didn't really think much of it because it's Cherry. But also, I'm shocked. How did nobody know that she was related to Devlin? Especially if they, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. I just feel like, uh, in short, the Cherry plot point for me didn't really hit. Especially when you have a character like, when you have a character like, is is this a soft eraser? Yeah, it just didn't hit for me because when you have a character like Killian who's already dead set on what he wants, trying to throw something to derail him, like, doesn't really make sense. Like, I understand trying to make Glyndon feel insecure, but again, Killian is very dead set on Glyndon. He's not going to leave her alone like that. She will get that jealousy aspect of it, but I don't think it's like, if you really wanted to amp things up, I think introduce a character who would have been egging Glyndon on a little bit more and working Glyndon rather than trying to work Killian in terms of a antagonistic character, because it would give Killian a little bit someone to target, as well as provide a point of hesitation because he doesn't want to target somebody Glyndon cares about. Like, actually test that self-control. At least that's my opinion and how it could have gotten better. Like, have somebody to make Glyndon question Killian even more. Because yeah, I didn't really see the for me it just didn't make sense to put Cherry in there as a distraction. Again, because Killian was already so dead set on Glyndon. Like, for me it just didn't make sense to throw in a quote unquote love rival who I understand was not intended to be an actual love rival. They were just there for the plot and to drive a drive a piece of this to drive a piece of the story in the background. Like, I understand that's what her purpose was. I just think we could have had a better tool, for lack of a better term, to accomplish that. At least that's my opinion. Because again, I didn't see the point of Cherry. Like, I am not against love triangles. I loved love triangles. I just think we could have maybe used someone else, or like worked Glyndon, because Glyndon's already very hesitant about Killian, and probably worked more on that hesitation, because I think what would have irritated Killian more wouldn't be somebody trying to like re-enter his life. It would have been somebody causing more of a rift between him and Glyndon. I just think that the best way to attack Killian, and it is mentioned more than once, that the best way to attack Killian is to go after Glyndon, because Glyndon is his weakness. He's not gonna make like blind rash decisions if it means Glyndon is going to dislike him even more. Oh shit! Wrong layer. Okay, we're good. I was wondering why the hair didn't look like it was getting a blur effect. And the main purpose for this Gaussian blur is just to soften the edges. I don't want it to blend into the color behind it. I just want it to soften the edges. Yeah, that'll do. And it's not a very high Gaussian blur. I am going to go back in with the hard brush and define the lines a little bit more, but keep, this isn't the right one. For me, like, I'd rather do the Gaussian blur and then go back in and redefine it with the hard spray brush than have to blur out each individual one, because it's like, that's just, it gets very tedious. At least this way I'm just tracing lines. That's like too soft. Yeah, let's erase that piece. Oh god, I hate this. I hate this part of the summer because like there are a lot of small bugs that are able to get in, and I'm hyper aware of my carpet because it's usually this time of year when the sun spiders start getting in, and it's just like I've had at least one incident with sun spiders every summer. Yeah, and I know I'm over my 4-minute mark. I just want to finish rendering out his hair. I am also reading, or I keep saying reading, but I listen to more audiobooks than I do read physical books. I do still read physical books, but audiobooks are just a little bit more accessible to me because I can listen to them while I'm at work. And I started listening to, I forgot the name, but it's about these twins that I don't want to call them priestesses, but, and generally by the way that, like, because the thing is I'm passively listening to these while I'm working, so sometimes I miss very important character details. Like, because in my mental image, I was I was picturing two priestesses, like Japanese priestesses. And no, because it is a fantasy setting, so it's like you can tell there's an influence from other, like from real world cultures. Like there are those influences, but I was picturing Japanese priestesses the entire time until they started like mentioning how they were very fair skinned, they had blue eyes, and then the red hair kind of hammered it home. And I'm just like, oh, I had a completely wrong mental image, mainly because of how a lot of the setting was described. But I also get the impression that they're actually outsiders in, like, in a sense, they're like, to an extent, outsiders. But I could be wrong. Again, passively listening to these stories while I'm at work. And this one is kind of like a very easy listen where it's like very easy to tune out, or not tune out, but like it's very easy to kind of just like have it blend into the background. But yeah, so far I am enjoying the elements of it because they're pretty much entire setting of village gets wiped out. Now they got separated, so now they're trying to find each other as well as locate missing kids, and it sets them off an adventure. And I kind of like the way that they did it because they separate the twins, so a good portion of the story they're not even together. So you get peaks of their dynamic at the beginning, but you don't get a full picture of their dynamic because they do get separated very early on in the story, and you kind of like get a little bit more of how each twin sees the other when the other isn't around. So I really enjoy how they split it off and have dedicated focus chapters on each of them where their development isn't dependent on each other. So I really enjoy that element. It's like they're twins, but they're not attached at the hip, and they're very distinct from each other. Okay, gonna. Ooh, that scared me. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and actually we're not gonna merge because I do need to put in the highlights, and the highlights are usually good. Ooh, my neck. Maybe that's why I have this headache, because I keep doing this with my neck. Actually, I need these. No, not the soft one. I need highlight. The highlight isn't gonna work because it's already on ad. Um, I feel like I should. Yeah, we'll just wrap up his hair and then we'll call it a night. And then off stream, I'll continue working on his suit, and hopefully by next stream, we'll be working on fourth wing sticker designs, or at least wrapping some up, because oh, your girl really needs to ramp up production if she wants to be ready for this fantasy market. Like, on one hand, like, I'm telling myself that I shouldn't be putting so much pressure on myself, but at the same time, like, things need to get done. And one of the, for me, like, what sucker punches the most is that when we were originally planning to do this market, it wasn't supposed to be a fantasy market. It was going to be a local anime convention, or like a little, yeah, best way I can say it. It was supposed to be an anime centered event, but it ended up getting canceled last minute, or I don't want to say last minute isn't the right, but it got canceled. So like I'm here sitting, it's like, oh, okay, I can definitely like work off of the love and deep space ideas that I currently have and like get some of those, like some of my already work in progress stuff going. But I actually don't like how this curves. And that's why you don't work so zoomed in all the time. So I was thinking like I could just like piggyback off of all of my love and deep space, and then those are going to be the new products I have, and it'll be like, okay, I'll just wrap those up, and if I whatever extra comes along, it's extra that happens to get done before the event. But at least that's what I was thinking would happen originally. But what ended up happening was that the anime event got canceled. So instead of the anime event, it got replaced with the fantasy event. And we were already planning on doing it. And I had already agreed with my friend that, yeah, I'll do it with you because it'll be our first market together. And it's kind of nice when you have somebody that is kind of like on the same boat as you, like just starting beginner. And it kind of helps alleviate that pressure. um, but again, it's like my plans sort of kind of changed because I was originally expecting like I can just go ahead and work on some of the designs I already had planned or already had in queue. This kind of forced me to shift gears a little bit and focus on more designs that are fantasy related, which in a way kind of came at a good time because I just finished Fourth Wing. I was starting to read more romanticy stuff. So in a way, it kind of like it works out a little bit to an extent, but some of like the original ideas I had in mind kind of hit the back burner. So there were some like more spicier stuff that I wanted to work on. Again, spicy within allowable restrictions for events. But again, hit back burners because I had to prioritize more fantasy related designs. So that's part of the reason why I'm like I didn't completely drop the lads projects because their myths are in a way also fantasy because you got things like Silas, who is a dragon in his myth. And then you have Xavier, well, Lumiere doesn't Xavier's second myth fits the fantasy bill better, but I don't have the second myths prepared, so unfortunately I may not I won't have time to capitalize on that unless like I push something very aggressively last minute. But I know that's not going to happen because I also have crochet on my plate as well. So, yeah, I think Xavier's second myth would have been a better fit, but you have Raphael, who undersea god, which works out fine. Again, his second myth would have fit the bill a lot better because literal mermaid. Um, and then Zane, a little bit more on Asian mythology, so more Asian inspired fantasy setting. And then Xavier and Caleb are the only two that I think like may not necessarily fit the entire fantasy bill, primarily because their designs are a little bit more sci-fi and more spacey. I guess Xavier more could fit the bill more so than Caleb because he has more of like that princely charm to him. Um, Caleb is flat out robot, which fits more sci-fi than it does fantasy, unless you want to argue that sci-fi is a type of fantasy. But I don't know how well that argument will carry me in a court of law and how much that will offend the sci-fi community. So I struggle to make that claim. Okay, almost done. Just want to give a little more color to these center areas. And that headache is pulsing on the right side of my head today, and I need to stop doing that with my neck because that may as well be causing the issue as well. I really hope when I go see the doctor tomorrow it's nothing serious. I should also schedule. Did I do that glow? Oh, I did it. That's odd. So once again, Gaussian blur. Not so intense. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so Caleb's hair ended up not being as painful as I thought it was going to be. I ended up streaming much longer than I thought I would. And now the only thing left is his suit. And I have a little bit more faith that his suit won't be as difficult because it is going to be metal. So while I do need to shade in each individual piece, I actually don't think it's going to be too much of an issue because of it's very angular, it's very edgy. I don't think it's going to cause too much issue with shading. So I'm going to finish. I'm not going to say I'm going to finish Caleb offline, but I will continue working on Caleb offline and see how far I can get him because again, I do really want to push him out. So this is Caleb, and I'll wrap up the stream here. So thank you everyone for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.